Welcome to Tony Martignetti Nonprofit Radio coverage of 19NTC, the Nonprofit Technology Conference. We're coming to you from the Convention Center in Portland, Oregon. This 19NTC interview, like all of ours, is brought to you by our partners at Act Blue, free fundraising tools to help nonprofits make an impact. With me are Brenna Holmes and Chrissy Hyre. They are both with Chapman, Cubine, and Hussey. Brenna, seated next to me, is Vice President for Digital Services, and Chrissy is Vice President Innovation. Welcome.
Thank
Brenna,
you.
welcome back. Welcome back to each of you.
Thank you.
And Brenna has disclosed that these interviews have a secondary purpose for her.
Chrissy. It's me.
I'm sorry, Chrissy.
I'm married.
Chrissy,
That's not mine.
Chrissy has disclosed that they have dating power.
They do, so definitely come on the show.
Yeah, because your dates will Google you and they will find your nonprofit radio interview.
Yeah.
And when they do that, I want you to inquire about the host. I'm really not interested in what they thought of your performance.
Right.
What did they think about the host? And then let me know if it's positive.
Only if it's positive.
If it's not positive, silence is best. Just carry on with your date after that. Awesome. I love that. It's
hilarious, right?
Chrissy, that's funny. All right. But we're not talking about dating. We're talking about making them, actually making them love you.
Yeah.
Welcoming donors the right way is your session topic.
Yes.
So, Chrissy, what as an overview, what are nonprofits not getting quite right about welcoming? Let's start with first-time donors, and we'll evolve in the conversation from there. But what are we not doing quite right?
Yeah, so Brenna says this really well, actually, but you really only get one chance to make a first impression. And so one of the things that a lot of organizations don't do particularly well is showing folks exactly how much they care about the gift that folks are giving to them. And so, one of the things that we really focused on in our session today was thinking through what are the ways that you connect people back to your mission, back to the work that you're doing, making them really understand the impact of the gift that they've just given, and building that connection and that relationship so that they're ready to take that to the next level, so to speak, and give you another gift.
Okay, and Brenna, how do we get started thinking about this process that we have for donors?
Yeah, so we think about everything from a multi-channel perspective. Very much not just the channel they gave the gift in, but really talking to them in multitude of ways because, as you know, everybody's oversaturated in lots and lots of media. And nonprofits have to do more and more to stay top of mind, keep that good feeling moving forward, to maintain that share of wallet as well. So the first things that you start with, especially for online donors, very appropriate here for NTC, is making sure that you're customizing the confirmation page and the autoresponder email to that donation. A lot of it is just the default settings that nonprofits never remember to change. And just updating that can go a very long way.
Customizing the confirmation page and the acknowledgement letter?
Autoresponder email.
Autoresponder. Email.
Going a little bit further and adding direct mail into the mix by sending your online donors a direct mail acknowledgement letter goes even more. We love that. That's wonderful.
Okay. Now, I did have a panel just maybe an hour or so ago, hour and a half ago, that said, you want to keep your donation process streamlined, ask as few questions as possible. Mm-hmm. Now, in order to get the direct mail address, that's going to be another level of questions you have to ask.
Well, no, you pretty much can't make a credit card donation without putting in the billing address anyways. So it's already part of the form fields to process the gift.
Okay, well, not according to those two guys.
I guess it depends on the platform.
It depends on your processor, I guess.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah.
They were saying, they were pretty clear that you do not have to ask for address. You can, but you don't have to.
The majority of nonprofit websites today do.
They do, right.
Yes.
But their point was that's not the best idea. All right, but
No.
now, so, and this is not in conflict, but
right.
We got to bring these ideas together. Everything is not cut, everything not black and white. Everything is not so clear. So, you're saying that's like an ideal process, ideal practice, acknowledging an online gift
offline
through the mail, offline. Okay. There could be another way of acknowledging that online gift. Could be through phone number.
Yep.
Yeah. That could be another way. Okay.
SMS, live calls, all
Auto
of that.
calls.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Auto call. What was auto calls?
Yeah, so it's a pre-recorded call, very inexpensive, that like the executive director of an organization can record, and you send that to all of your new donors to welcome them to the organization.
To thank them and welcome them. Yep.
Oh boy. Okay. Interesting. Okay. I'm not sure. So where should we start with an audit of our current process?
Always a good
And-
place to start.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are we looking for? What are some common sticking points and bad practices that we want to be conscious of in our audit?
So we are looking at like what already goes out, right? What's the default? So again, for online donors, there is the default confirmation page that's usually very receipt transactional basis that has all of the semi-critical information from the processor's point of view, but it's not very donor-centric. And it certainly doesn't show the impact that the gift is going to make for the nonprofit who's receiving the donation. Same thing with that autoresponder email. It's generally plain text, very receipt-based. What we want to do is build out stewardship touches, like turn these receipts into nurture opportunities so that people are bonding with the organization and moving past that transactional relationship. Same thing with your direct mail receipts. Most organizations send them out at least to their direct mail donors, if not also to their online donors. But you can improve upon the look and feel of that package, make it really stand out in the mailbox so that it doesn't look like one of your fundraising appeals, or it doesn't look like a bill from your health insurance company or anything else, right? And just show that love right up front. No one has ever said, stop thanking me.
Yeah.
Like in the history of ever. So that's something that we're like constantly trying to reinforce with that. And then the newer channels, all of the innovation with SMS and auto calls or even live calling, like those are usually add-ons, so they wouldn't show up in your audit, but they're nice iterations to go above and beyond, and can be done with volunteers and things like that at a smaller scale.
Board members.
I love a working board. Yes. Put them to work.
Chrissy, what do you want to add?
I mean, I think that's exactly right. Everything Brenna said. I think the one thing to consider in your audit as well is making sure, as Brenna noted at the top of our conversation, about that multi-channel experience. So just because someone is giving online, don't assume they don't want to hear from you offline. A lot of us, almost all of our media interactions are happening on a screen. And so to actually get that piece of paper is something that people really remember. It really means a lot to them. It's significant. The other thing is, don't be afraid to reach people on their phone to thank them. A lot of people have sort of a bad taste in their mouth about what telemarketing is. Nobody's going to be upset if you call them to say thank you. Right. And nobody's going to be upset if you text them to say thank you. And if you text them to say thank you, they're definitely going to see it and they're definitely going to remember it. Yeah.
Okay. So after we have our audit, what's our next step? We got to start improving our practices.
Copy.
Maybe a little bit
creative.
at a time, maybe a couple of steps at a time. You're creative.
Yep.
Say more, Brenna.
Yeah, so it's it is about building up that content into both being relevant for that specific donor, either for donor type. Did they make a one-time gift at what dollar value? Did that dollar value kick them into a giving circle of some level? And then you need to acknowledge that in a separate way. You can also use the type of appeal that they responded to enforce the thank you copy as well. So like, did they respond to something about puppy mills versus something about horse meat? Like having that content flow through into the acknowledgement program and into the welcome series afterwards to keep them going to have a next action opportunity is a fantastic way to start.
Is it right that our first time donor retention rate nonprofit wide is like around 25% or so?
We typically see closer to a third to being healthy,
Yeah.
but they're going down.
I'm citing how bad it is.
Yeah, it has been going down. Yeah.
It is going down.
It is going
We're going
down.
the wrong direction.
We
Oh
are.
my God.
Yes.
And that's honestly like a lot of that data is coming out around the last few quarters of 2018. So there's a lot of reason right now as we kick off the year to start really thinking about how you're bonding people to the organizations that you're fundraising for.
All right. What else we saw? We're talking about designing a multi-channel welcome and nurture series.
Yeah.
Is that basically what we're talking about, a nurture series?
A little bit. I mean, I think the acknowledgement process should be part of that nurturement, right? It's the first interaction for a lot of organizations post that gift, the first outbound communications in a lot of ways. So it's a natural bridge to the welcome series and kind of stewarding them throughout that relationship. So we should not be setting anything and forgetting about it.
Yeah.
Everything needs to be very conscious decisions about what copy we're sending to who, what content they're getting, when, and the touch points. I mean, all of the data that we have shows that the more of those pieces of touch or personally identifiable information, right? Like whether it's postal address or email address or phone number, the more of those contact points that we have on for a constituent, the higher their retention will be and the higher their value will be to the organization on a lifetime level. So while it might be easier to not get that postal address, I want that postal address. There's so much more value there.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? Their other point was don't do it in the donation.
Right then.
In the donation, on the donation pages. We can ask for that later on.
That's true.
Maybe right after the gift is made. Would you like to share your mail? Now that makes it optional. Okay.
Right.
But
so
anyway.
then it raises the question of why, right? Which you have to have a good answer for.
We'd like to be able to we'd like to be able to send you something. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. But
incentive-based thank yous are always people love swag.
Right.
So you could do that. That's definitely an
Send you
option.
a sticker and done and dusted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What did you say? Done and dusted?
I did.
Okay. You get dates with the kind of lines like that?
Yeah.
That's true. This is the kind of witty banter you
cliches
can
like that.
expect. You know?
Yeah, that's
like,
right.
here.
Future dates are watching. This is amazing. Oh my God, she's turning red. Okay, I'm sorry. So, I just realized. I just put two and two together. This is going to happen in the future too. It's not only in the past. Oh my God, and this is going to be more relevant. It's more. It's
more recent.
It's all about making them love you.
So in other words, so what do you think of the host? This is what I want to know. Okay, Chrissy Date. What do you think of the host?
Key question.
It's Tony at TonyMartignetti.com is the best way, or you can use the contact page at TonyMartignetti.com if you prefer.
And now I never hear from you again.
Right.
Totally fine. That's fine.
Yeah. Think of the time you said. Think of the time I'm saving you.
Thank you so much.
If they I'm beating you up. I feel bad.
No,
if they make it through over this threshold,
right?
then you know
It's real.
it's more than
Yeah.
it's more than superficial.
Right.
If they can get past this. Do they say they watched the whole video?
We haven't gotten into a ton of specifics,
okay.
but I can try to learn more.
All right,
Yeah.
all right. We'll see.
Next time I'll ask more
This
questions.
is roughly halfway in.
Okay.
This all happened roughly at the 12-minute mark. So
if they hear
no, if they make it to the 12-minute mark,
Right.
I think
We're
there's,
good.
there's potential. It's definitely beyond the average. Definitely beyond the average. All right. Okay, so we're only halfway in. Yeah. So what else do we need to talk about? Have you done your panel yet?
We did.
So
yep, at
what did you spend
1:30
75
today.
minutes talking about? What else? And let's broaden it a little bit now. So not only first-time donors, but volunteer becomes a donor.
Mm-hmm.
Small gift donor becomes a mid-level or higher-level donor. What do we need to do to make them love us, Chrissy?
Yeah, so I think this is actually a really great question. So thank you for asking it. So essentially, I think that there are ways to integrate people into new parts of our organization. I think one of the easiest things for folks to understand is upgrading folks to monthly giving. And how do you start to thank those people in a way that feels really special and bonds them to that program? You already know they're exceptionally bonded to the work that you're doing. And so how do you start to thank them in a way that makes them feel like, oh my gosh, now I'm a part of an even more special piece of this community, right? And so, in our session, we talked a lot about, when you, for example, are thanking a monthly donor, how often do you want to thank them? Do you want to, Brenna calls it waking the bear. Where you kind of are calling out to them, do you want to tell them every month, you're giving me a monthly gift? And then, or do you want to sort of say, yeah, or,
You want to thank them every month?
I mean, we were talking about, they also talked about splitting the baby there because there are philosophical differences and conversations there.
Yeah.
I think the standard used to be don't wake the bear, right? Don't remind them that they're giving every month. They'll leave. Oh my gosh. That can't be it anymore. We all have so many subscriptions in our life, whether it's Netflix or Hulu or all of these things that.
And if they don't feel good about it, then when the card expires or is stolen or compromised,
they're not going to bother.
They might drop it.
Right.
So
we had some people in the session that were talking about quarterly, right? Maybe kind of following up in a different way at different time periods. So it's not every month.
Right.
But I think you can do monthly as long as you are using it as a nurture touch point. It's not just a receipt.
like, you don't want anything you give to your donors to just be a throwaway effort. If
Right.
you're taking the time to send it, you want it to actually mean something to them. So if it's literally just a receipt, how much value does that really provide? Like, not a lot, you know?
Yeah. Okay. So something impactful for that month. We reached. I don't know. Nothing is coming to mind, but that's why you're the consultants in that, and I'm the consultant in planned giving.
Yeah. But, you know, one of the... Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just fleshing out why I don't have an answer. So no more detail needed on that. I don't have a suggestion, I should say.
Well, one of the things that, you know, can be a really impactful way to leverage that thank you moment is to kind of look at your sustainer file and when are people the most likely to fall off of your file, and then take that opportunity to do like an exceptional thank you.
So
like,
you lose a lot after between month 3 and 4.
Right, exactly. So maybe that's the month where you send that handwritten note that's like, we know who you are, we love you, we see you. Like, you
Right.
know.
If you already are sending tote bags or calendars in your acquisition or something like that, leveraging that with a special note to sustainers at the quarter mark or the 6-month mark. We have clients that do like all out at your anniversary. Thank you for being here for 1 year with us. You know, making it about them, those milestones, and then again, tying it to the impact.
And like, people want to make impact and they want to feel important. And that's true whether this is their first $10 gift or their $1,000 gift or their $1 million gift. And so figuring out the way that you say thank you that feels like they are making that difference, that matters. That's part of a good donor experience.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, and I think that carries through whether it's sustainers or like an event volunteer who's becoming a donor for the first time. That's a different level of engagement with the organization. And the fact that they have that history already with you is very powerful. And so if you can reference that relationship in the content as well, that will go much further in strengthening that relationship in the long term.
A lot of this subsumed in what we're talking about is having these systems in place and constantly tweaking them. My voice just cracked like I'm a 14-year-old. Tweaking. Oh, my God.
That's appropriate word for
Puberty
it.
is coming. 12, 14. You got to have these systems in place.
Yeah.
And somebody's got to be monitoring them. Chrissy, to your point, you can't just set it and forget it. Or one of you said that. I'm sorry if it was you, Brenna. But, okay. So who's responsible for these systems? This is in the development department?
Depends on the nonprofit. It's definitely a collaboration between like IT at some level and development, marketing. Each nonprofit is configured in a slightly different way. So like who owns things would change. But yeah, the data is really important. And having a 2-directional or multi-directional sync of key data components so that you can conditionalize content based on those relationships from other channels.
So in other words, like syncing between your CRM and your email.
Exactly.
Or your text responder.
Yep. Yeah, and vice versa too, right? If we are sending those offline acknowledgments to online donors, you need that level of information. Ideally, there's some source codes in there so you know what sort of relationship they had with you before, and you know what sort of appeal or issue they came in on. So again, was it dog meat or, puppy meals or horse meat? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that's all very important.
You got to have the infrastructure.
Setting that, I always got to get your house in order before you invite people over, right? And that's more about acquisition costs, but data is also super important. Like you can start and then build and have a plan to scale because everybody can't do everything right away. But you got to start with clean data.
So can I ask a question? Is that not okay in this setting?
No, it is okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So
I've beaten you up so much. How could I possibly say no to
I'm the host now, everyone.
anything you request? Yeah, Chrissy Hyre, Nonprofit Radio.
So, Brenna, what would you say about not
You're asking
letting?
me the question.
I am
okay.
not letting great be the enemy of good. So, if folks are just we don't have the bandwidth for all of that data collection or all of that data sync, where is that starting point?
Yeah, well, I think it depends on where you're getting most of your gifts into what channel you want to start with to focus on, right? Because bang for the buck. If most of your gifts are checks in the mail, let's focus on those confirmation acknowledgement letters, the receipts, and the welcome kit direct mail package kind of offline pieces. So you don't have to worry about the email side of the world if the data's not playing nicely right away. Vice versa. Obviously here at NTC, it's very online focused. You start on the online side. And luckily with the online stuff, you usually have the syncs. You don't need a sync because your email marketing system is in the same system as your donation processing system. Doesn't have to be, right? Plugin, you could have hub and spoke solutions at that point too, but for most of them they are, most of our clients especially. So you can live. I'm also going
You're also
through
going through
puberty.
puberty,
Yeah,
yeah.
A lot
goodness.
happening at this table, everyone.
A lot of personal
Something.
Moments.
personal,
I'm not
I
sure.
don't know,
Achievements.
karma. Something.
Yeah. So you can create a somewhat cohesive donor experience with siloed channels. It is possible. It just takes a lot more work on an ongoing basis.
It's inefficient.
It's very inefficient. So we talk about how much work it takes to set up the process in the beginning to get a multi-channel, really integrated surround sound campaign happening. But if you're not doing that, you're putting in the legwork all the time to make sure that you don't sound like two different organizations in email and direct mail.
Yes. All right.
Yeah.
That's very bad practice.
Yeah.
How about some of the questions? What were some of the questions you got in your session that you thought were particularly interesting, or I don't know if they could be provocative, but interesting is good.
Well,
yeah.
Go
What?
ahead.
We did get questions about just testing, what kind of creative treatments people should focus their time on to test. And
What are some?
it depends on the channel, but I think a lot of it for anything, well, email and direct mail specifically, it's trying to get people into the content in the first place. So whether it's your subject line and sender name in email, or your teaser on your outer envelope in the mail, both of those are very similar from a user experience standpoint, and they're very low bar, easy tweak tests that you can make.
Teasers on outer envelopes, they work?
Oh, they're
yeah.
so important.
They do?
Yeah.
Oh,
Like, what's a good
absolutely.
one? Well, give
Well-
me an example of a couple of good ones.
I mean, for acknowledgments, thank you. Gift receipt enclosed. Be very clear.
Okay.
This is not an appeal, right?
All right.
How
How about for acquisition?
Oh, gosh.
We're off. I know we're off.
We're off on-
we're off
now
topic a
we're-
little bit, but I've always wondered about this because I see these things, and it's not at all what I do.
Right.
What's a good, Chrissy? What's a good acquisition? What do you call these on the outer
Direct-
envelope?
yeah,
What do you-
teasers. It's a
Teasers.
teaser.
What do you-
Teaser. On the
What's a
OE.
good
Yeah.
acquisition?
Well, it kind of depends on what's inside or the organization, but anything that
right.
talks about matching gift
Urgent.
works really well. Urgent.
Yeah.
Open
yeah.
immediately. That works.
Sure.
People
Yeah.
respond to that.
Second
Yeah.
notice.
Yeah.
Reminder.
Special gift enclosed for.
Oh, free gift. Yeah.
Yeah.
Free gift enclosed.
Second notice. That works.
Second notice.
Oh, yeah.
Little stamp, reminder
Yeah,
stamp.
the stamp. It looks
stamp
a little
effect.
rough. It looks like it was stamped,
Yeah.
or it looks like it was a handwritten.
Yeah. Oh,
I've seen those.
anything that looks like a human touched it. We call it the power of the paperclip, because you can't machine that. So if anything that feels like humans have touched it, will automatically get more attention.
But it is machine printed.
That
What do you
is,
mean?
yes.
Oh yeah.
But it looks like it.
You're just trying to create the experience of
Yeah.
this came off of their desk.
But do people believe that? I mean, do they?
Yes, we are not our donors.
They are.
We are not our donors.
People do believe
Yeah.
this stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
They do.
like a
They do.
human actually wrote that, or somebody
I mean-
somebody had a stamp, an ink pad, and a stamp.
I think it depends on the
Really?
size of the organization. Somebody's probably not going to believe it as easily from AARP, but they will believe it from their local, SPCA.
Wow.
So, just depends.
Yeah.
All right. I'm really surprised at that. Second notice.
Oh,
Open
yeah.
open urgently.
Renew is a very powerful word as well. So having,
Renew does well.
renew your membership right on the teaser, something like that.
Okay.
Renew
Very
and
helpful.
free. Those are your two
Renew,
best.
yep, those are the winners.
What was the other one?
Free.
Free.
Yeah.
Just the word free?
Well, attached to something.
Oh, free something.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Free something. Okay. All right.
It's just a very powerful word.
It's just free. Just right
All
there.
right. Just free.
Go for it.
Okay, we got another minute and a half or so, 2 minutes. What else?
Other
Questions? Other
that we have
questions?
that were good.
Oh, gosh. I feel like a lot of people had questions about sort of what it meant to take their online thank you experience offline. I
Yeah.
don't know if you...
There was a lot of questions about printing and paper. Yeah.
Everyone's favorite.
Everyone's favorite. Well, because some organizations, like conservation organizations, are very paper-free. But having the numbers that actually show that people who give to receipt packages, to acknowledgement gifts, are better donors than people who don't.
Yeah.
Can make the case to the board members or to your CFO or whoever else that we really should think about this at some level. Maybe we're not mailing every online donor, maybe it's not $5 donors or $10 donors, but maybe at the $50 donor level, those folks are like worth that added investment. So having that numbers to back it up is really helpful. And anytime you can decrease the time to second gift is huge. And typically most nonprofits see, one gift a year on average, whatever time of year that is, if it's not sustainers. If you can change that 12-month between first and second gift to 2 months between first and second gift, because
you'll have a greater lifetime value from that donor?
And a higher retention. We're seeing, especially with new donors, because their giving habits haven't been cemented yet, we're seeing anywhere from 45 to 65% higher retention rates across the board and higher values. So it's amazing.
Okay. Chrissy, I'm going to give you the last word in like 15 seconds, a little motivation about, making them love you.
Oh, gosh. Well, it's a lot of pressure.
Smile into the camera.
I know. I think that if you don't know where to start, just say thank you. Say thank you every way you can. Say it sincerely and say it in a way that really means a lot to the folks who've given you their time, their money, their actions, whatever that looks like. It really goes a long way to improve your donor's experience.
All right. That was Chrissy Hyre. She's Vice President of Innovation at Chapman, Cubine, and Hussey. And sitting next to me is Brenna Holmes, Vice President for Digital Services, also at Chapman, Cubine, and Hussey. And you are with Tony Martignetti Nonprofit Radio coverage of 19NTC, the 2019 Nonprofit Technology Conference. This interview, like all of ours this year, brought to you by our partners at Act Blue, free fundraising tools to help nonprofits make an impact. How come CCH isn't sponsoring Nonprofit Radio? Why is that?
That is a great question.
Why don't we bring that back to the main office?
We will do that.
Thanks so much for being with us.